Diversity and inclusion has been one of the major themes at the 2020 Drum Corps International Winter Meetings. And that often means to achieve goals of diversity and inclusion, you have to recruit new people to be part of your organization. Dr. Carolyn Hand just finished doing a session with some of our Winter Meetings attendees on recruiting women leaders, female leaders. And Dr. Hand is the Associate Director of Bands at Ball State University. And of course, you've met her before. She was on just a day or two ago. Genevieve Geisler is the co-corps director of the Bluecoats. Dr. Hand, what was the main message you wanted the attendees to get today?
The main message was for people to diversify their leadership teams so that they can communicate to a broader range of people. So that includes, specific to my presentation, with Genevieve's help as she's the core insider, recruiting more females to leadership team, whether that's on instructional staff or in your design team, and also mentoring those females in that role.
How has DCI done at that historically, Genevieve? Not very well,
not great,
right?
yeah. So yeah, the idea is, since we have decided collectively, I believe that diversity is possible, the next question I always get from people, and I talk to them about, trying to reach out to look for a more diverse slate of candidates for job opening is, okay, how? And okay, I have people in my staff already. How do I help them develop into a leader? So this idea of this presentation to both the core directors and the design and instructional staff is for Caroline to share with us some strategies for actually making that change happen.
Okay, so it sounds like we can pursue two lines of questioning here, recruitment and development. Let's start with recruitment. Where do you find a more diverse, whether it's staff or a group of performers?
Sure, so I'll kind of tackle this from 2 points. First of all, we talked about kind of two generic stereotypes that females might fit into. So you will find that females often don't speak up or even apply for a position if they don't feel 100% or more qualified. There's very much a perfectionist tendency. So there may be some people actually in your core that you see as strong members or even strong instructional staff, may be at, not the top levels, who are kind of under the radar, and you think, oh, they just don't want the extra responsibility, when really they're not speaking up and stepping into those roles because they don't feel that they're qualified. So it's important to have conversations with those people about, hey, you're doing great things here. Why don't you apply for this, or why don't you step into this role, or why don't you take on this responsibility? The other flip side of the coin is some women who are particularly assertive are perceived as bossy and in kind of a negative light because they're not fitting into these kind of stereotypical feminine norms. And so at that point, you have to evaluate, how am I perceiving this person? How's my team perceiving this person? And are we really concentrating on the ideas that they're bringing to the table, on their skills and their talents, or am I letting some kind of unconscious bias get in the way of how I perceive this person? And so then I'm kind of like pushing them out of a leadership role. Genevieve also brought to my attention, like in academia, we have national searches for positions, which maybe doesn't always occur in DCI. And so we also sort of organically today talked about ways to find how to broaden your search for positions, kind of talked about some online resources, and just simply using a broader network and asking around a bit more to search for more candidates.
The first step being for DCI, versus academia that has a process set up for this and rules within the institutions. First step for DCI is just encouraging more groups to post more jobs, even on their own websites. And then the second step to that would be finding resources and maybe even in developing them within DCI to post jobs that gets a broader scope of, the people that might be available to fill them, rather than using the good old boys network, which is sometimes what happens now.
Well, okay, good old boys network, let's call it an insular community because we're relatively small given the great scheme of things. and we all know each other,
Right.
you know, so I guess there's a comfort level in, well, let's just pick up the phone and call Joe. I know he's
Right.
looking for a gig this summer.
But the reality is we have, how many students out of all our students age out each year and are eligible to become an instructor? How many people are band directors that might not be involved in DCI right now, but there might be a woman who's an extremely qualified trumpet teacher. She just isn't currently working in DCI. So the idea would be to broaden it to those type of qualified people. Because I don't think the Good Old Boys Network thing is something that people do intentionally. People have to think about it and then intentionally reach out. And I think people want to do that, but they need strategies for how to do it, because this is a community that really wants to do the right thing when it comes to this stuff, but we need resources.
Most drum corps don't post for jobs, do they?
Right. They don't. Or maybe, for administrative things, but not necessarily for, design and instructional staff. Now, the Madison Scouts actually posted all their non-design jobs this year, and they did have some success with that strategy and broadening the scope of people that they were recruiting. But what we've done is, since each organization is individual, and some of the top groups have very little turnover in their staffs, is to encourage each corps to, in a way that fits with their goals and their vision, post at least some jobs, decide what's right for you, even, post. Maybe some people are only posting for the mellophone tech that they need, and maybe some people are posting all their jobs, but, those are all steps toward, increasing the pool of applicants that you might have and getting a little bit of a different look to the faces that you have in front of your members.
Let's talk about the development and mentoring piece of this. Is that a formal process that you're advocating, or is it more of an informal, hey, I'm going to be your mentor and help you out? What do you want a structure in place for mentoring, or what are you talking about exactly?
For me specifically in this presentation, it was more an informal thing, being aware of, am I mentoring? Am I being intentional about reaching out to the people that I see that are really talented, to encourage them to take leadership roles, and gave a few. One thing is just even as simple as that, encouraging somebody to apply for a position, to step into a certain responsibility. And then again, going back to the evaluating unconscious bias, is some kind of unconscious bias preventing me from seeing the talent that somebody has, and helping people focus on their skills and talent. So it was a little bit more informal, but I mean, I don't in any way say don't set up a formal mentoring system. I think that could be really wonderful too.
Yeah, this was mainly more about giving everyone like kind of some strategies for helping to mentor, or just talk with the people or notice the people around them that might be a good candidate to kind of advance in their career in the organization.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like if there's a takeaway, it's keep your eyes open, look for those opportunities to help people advance their career.
Mm-hmm. And I think just be mindful of your own unconscious biases and how you can defeat them, or move past them in your own mind. A really interesting thing she said, because there's for the stereotype that maybe a woman who talks a certain way is bossy or abrasive, is to think about, is the idea itself good? And if a man had said it in the same way, would I be having the same reaction?
Fairness test.
And maybe not, and a good way to train in your own mind to really be evaluating what the person's contributing, rather than something about how that they're presenting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think that, these unconscious biases are not intentional. Right. It's like how we've been brought up in society. And, I found I was doing these things with my own students, calling on males more than females in classroom settings and things like that. And I had to step back and say, whoa, wait a second, I need to be intentional about who I'm calling on in a classroom setting to make sure everyone's voice is being heard.
And the idea is not to scold anyone. It's rather to help give us strategies to be better. To be better, it's once we recognize what these type of issues are, really.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both for filling us in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Carolyn Hand and Genevieve Geisler on the DCI News Network.